This is day 1 of the rusting experiment. The nail with air only produced no rust. The nail with water and air produced the most amount of rust. The nail with vinegar produced very little rust. The nail with salt water and air produced little rust. The nail with water and oil produced rust. This is what it looks like from the top. This is day 2 of the rusting experiment. The nail with air only still doesn't produce any rust. The color of the salt water changes compared to the one in yesterday's observation. The nail in vinegar contains approximately the same amount of rust. The nail in water and air contains more rust, and the nail in the oil and water contains more rust. This is the third day of the rusting experiment. The nail in air only still doesn't contain any rust. The nail in water and air contains more rust, and the color of the water becomes a bit brown. The color of the nail in the vinegar turns darker, and the color of the vinegar becomes a bit yellow. The nail in salt water and air becomes rustier, and the color of salt water becomes light yellow. The nail in the oil and water gets rustier. This is day 4 of the rusting experiment. The nail in the air only still doesn't produce any rust whatsoever. The nail in water and air is rustier, and the color of the water turns darker. The nail in the vinegar is rustier, and the color of the vinegar turns a bit pink. The color of the salt water and air becomes a bit yellow, and there is a little bit of rust in the cup. The nail in the water and oil turns darker and produces the most rust. This is day 5 of the rusting experiment. The nail in air only still doesn't contain any trace of rust. The nail in water and air gets darker and rustier, and the water becomes darker. The nail in vinegar gets a bit darker, and the vinegar turns pink reddish. The nail in the salt water and air gets even rustier, and the rust can be seen surrounding the cup. The nail in water and oil looks more or less the same. This is what each nail looks like after about a week. The order from the rustiest nail to the least rustiest nail is water and oil, water and air, salt water and air, vinegar and air. The conclusion is the more water there is, the rustier the nail will get. The second experiment is to remove rust from each nail. The first sample is putting the rusty nail in vinegar. The second sample is putting rusty nail in toilet detergent. The third sample is putting rusty nail in ketchup. The fourth sample is putting rusty nail in Coke. And the fifth sample is putting rusty nail in baking soda and water.
Two hours later.
Vinegar doesn't really remove any rust. Most of the rust came off using toilet detergent. Ketchup removes some of the rust from the nail, but the nail is still a bit rusty. Coke doesn't really do anything. There is still a lot of rust, but it removes some of the rust from the nail.